When I saw this work, it brought to mind so many things that I find that I work with inside my own dance work. And it brought me right into the piece, and it brought me into my own personal stories about the piece, and it made me very curious about the work, and it has this very performative element in that way, that it's all encompassing. But I don't think our product is similar at all. This is a sculpture. But I think that some of the things he's working on, I actually work with inside my performance work. I see a person behind the work. And I'm curious about how it was constructed. And it's wood and resin, which I read about. And I'm curious about the landscape of it. And I'm so curious that I walk around it. And it places me it puts me in a position where the scale of it drastically changes depending on where you are. And walking around it in terms of where it's situated, it also places you in it in a way. When you go behind it, you kind of get lost in it, and all of these other pieces disappear for a while. And so I love the fact that I can go 360 around it, and I can disappear in it and disappear within the stories of it. And it makes me think about story without having a pointed story. I'm never trying to create a narrative in the work that I do. There's never a linear narrative. But there are stories involved, and those stories are not my stories. They're somehow open enough so the audience is allowed to experience their own stories. And I don't mean stories necessarily in a narrative sense, although it can be. It can be in a narrative sense, but it can also be like, what does this mean here? What is the meaning of this? And that to me is a story. And you constructing meaning is your own story around it. It's your own experience, it's your own history, it's everything that you bring to it. And so this to me also did that. It's not pointed. It doesn't tell me what I'm supposed to think or what I'm supposed to feel. Actually, he buries these pieces in Idaho, in parts of Idaho. There's just the tips of them that are showing in really beautiful composed ways. So it becomes this really beautiful land art. The desire is to have the elements really affect the work, and specifically he wanted termites to like find the work. So he's also working in a performative way outside of the museum. But for me, when I came onto this, I really felt that somehow. With a work like this, there's a real improvisation to it in terms of how you, as a viewer, come up to it and experience it. And so I think as a dance artist coming into this talk and wanting to express some kind of movement with it to represent what I do as an artist, not necessarily me, but my art form, because this doesn't represent my art form. I think that improvisation was really also selected because everyone improvs with it who walks up to it. You all experience it very differently, and you're able to walk around it, whereas something on the wall, you know, there's a frontal perspective, and you walk up to it and you stay there and you walk away. There's this behavior that happens with these. It's very different than the behavior that starts happening with something like this. I work with the body, and it so clearly has this form, this shape of the body. There's just a lot of curvature that I right away. I felt torso. I saw the architecture of bone structure. It's very simple. It's incredibly simple, and it's like a drop of water or something in a sand where it just keeps dropping, one drop, simple drop, and it just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And so it's not, you don't get overwhelmed by the complexity. You leave and you keep thinking about it, and you keep wondering about it. There's a real simplicity to it with just using resin and wood that's really powerful, but there's so much conceptual energy behind it. So you end up contemplating it, and there's a lot to contemplate. The more you witness it and the more you're around it, the more you actually kind of come up with these things. Robert is here to perform with it. We've been working a lot in our rehearsal process for this new piece I'm doing sunshine, and we use a lot of cardboard boxes that can be manipulated in a lot of ways. And this clearly is very different than that, clearly. But the fact that we're working with material, a very specific type of material, and we're working with ways to compose it in space with a body, I think that it's very appropriate that we bring some of that into here.